Good evening. Welcome to another episode of the Hog Talk podcast, live from the Sterling Soap and Roastery Studios, part of the Believe and Buzz Radio Network, where you can hear us every week on 106.7 in Central Arkansas. All live shows are presented to you by Arkansas Brewing Company in downtown Ozark. I'm Porter Hayes, and alongside me, as always, is Adam Hall. We're also brought to you by Bet Online, the world's most trusted betting platform for everything football. Think you know your stuff? Join in on our 200,000 mega contest and pick 5 games against the spread every week for your chance at weekly prizes and a share of $200,000. When the game's over, head on over to our online casino, get in on a game of blackjack, poker, or unwind with one of our 150 slot games. Head to the website and do not forget to use the promo code BLEAV to get in on the action. Bet online. The game starts here, and in the slogan, the same says "Game starts here." Well, the game ended in Jerry World. The series is finally over. More fitting way, for better fitting way than the fumble to seal the deal for Arkansas's fate against A&M, but another letdown, another game where you're tied at the half, another game where you're in it to the end, and yeah, what else could be said? Another letdown and one of those teams where you want the players, the fans to believe. You want everybody to think that you're, turning in the right direction. You're changing things, and same old. What's that? Second verse, same as the first.
Early on, I feel like this is on repeat again. We start off, good. We score 14 points. We're just like, okay, they're clicking, they're going, and then nothing afterwards. Punts. Yeah. I mean, yes, we got the fake punt, and that was awesome. We got the Jaquindon Jackson touchdown afterwards. Totally didn't expect that, but it's one of those things that you have these high hopes, and then as you get to halftime, you're just kind of seeing this lull across the board. Yep. And then you come out and it's the same thing in the second half. And then, you're looking at it and I'm 5 minutes left in the third, and it's just kind of like this. You're back to nobody wants to take control of the game. And it's just kind of a crappy feeling as a fan to sit there and watch, just like you're just waiting for the moment and can't do it.
When you look at the stats, I mean, if you look at this is another one of those games like the Oklahoma State game. You look at the stats, and this should be a game that Arkansas should have won by 14, 17 points. You threw 379 yards through the air. They only had 297. So, I mean, almost 100 more yards passing, 11 more plays. You averaged 5 yards a play, but those 2 fumbles and that interception, those 3 turnovers, costly. I mean, that's huge. And I know there's some, that's what cost the game. I mean, but, you only had 100 yards rushing. You have the SEC leading rusher, 10 carries for 40 yards, 44 yards, I believe. Let me look at I had the stats pulled up right quick, but nevertheless, you've got to give him the ball. And I even texted you, even when he done that quarterback sneak, which was good, but I was like, you got to get Jackson the ball. You got to get Jackson the ball. 10 carries for 40 yards, 3-yard loss. So it's 37 yards total for the SEC leading rusher. I mean, I know where you can point fingers on that, but it's just like, where were we at? Why? It wasn't like this was a 10-point game and you needed a touchdown. You needed to drive the ball down the field to tie the game up. You could have ran the ball and gave it to Jackson, put him on your back, and then switched it up with Green. We know they're both great with 2 of the top 10 leading rushers, and we're passing the ball. It just blows my mind in crunch time when you could have chewed up some clock, got put together one of those 12-play 4-minute drives, score a touchdown, and you win the game. I just don't know. That's what baffled me through the whole second half.
I think watching it though, once again, just like the past season, I mean, your offensive line was atrocious.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't know if it was that they felt like they weren't going to be able to run the ball. It's one of those things that reminds me of, being a Baltimore fan going back to like last year's AFC Championship game. You are the league's leading rushing team. And I think that game against the Chiefs, they rushed for like 6 or 7 times the entire game. You completely changed your identity for this one game.
Yeah.
And it didn't, I was glad to see 279 yards from Taylor Green, but, and he did make some better decisions, threw the ball away when needed. But then there were some times too that it's like, hey, there's some green grass in front of you or turf. Get out and run when he was scrambling to the right several times. You're 6'6". You're going to pick up at least 3 or 4 yards at minimum when you've got a little bit of space, probably more than that. We still go back to, hey, great. Broden finally made a catch. I am so glad. But it's one of those things too. I fear for Andrew Armstrong's health just because he got beat up yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
And it's one of those things that teams are going to single him out. I was glad to see Tesla get in the mix early with his early touchdown. I think he finished with 120 yards receiving. That's something that we've been missing. Once again, I know that there was I think 1 or 2 passes to Ty Washington. I'm not sure on his targets. Has looked like at 1.2, and he went down on the sideline wherever he came up holding his back once again. So I don't know if that's ever going to be addressed or it's just going to be he keeps playing through it. I don't know, but it's one of those that we got Satania involved. I felt like early, even if it were, he had the jet sweep early. They were still running him on some fakes, so you still didn't know whether they're expected or not. We hadn't seen that previously, and that was good to see. But we just got away from running Jaquindon Jackson.
Mm-hmm. Well, man, both of them. I mean, you look at, Taylor Green. I mean, he had 13 carries, but I mean, and this is where I've said it in the past. I don't like the sack yards being going against your rushing yards. I mean, I had 13 carries for 44 yards. I mean, which averages a half a yard a carry. I mean, Quinton Jackson, 3 yards a carry. Your leading rusher up until I think they said the third quarter was your punter.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's where that if you get that going, just like Tesla, I'm telling you that beautiful how you start the game on that drive, and then that was it. It was, yes, Jackson had that nice touchdown run, but it was like it's almost like, okay, let's just try to put teams away in the first half because we're not going to show up in the second half. I don't understand the play calling and like you say, going away from the run, but there was even thing where I told you if Green's going off his back foot or if he's leaning, he's lobbing the ball. Even that one that almost got intercepted, Armstrong made a hell of an effort to try to come down out of bounds with the ball. I mean, but what Tesla did, he was able to get those soft spots in that zone, and it really opened that up. And I've said that previously. You get him open, that's going to make them protect the short passes, the mid-range passes, and it's going to open up Armstrong. You've got to have a number 2 or another 3. Broden's got to start catching the ball. I mean, that's just all there is to it. But the way the line was getting pushed around and they were sending people on the blitzes and not getting picked up, I mean, call it how you was. I mean, they weren't touched. And even when you had a running back pick up one guy, they were sending a guy from the opposite side and was making Taylor Green run for his life. And you've got to be able to adjust there. With all these coaches and in the booth and everything you have in technology, you should be able to hey, we need to start picking this up. This is how we're going to do it.
Mm-hmm. And, once again, up until the last, 2 defensive drives or offensive drives for A&M on the defense, so of the game, your defense did everything that they could do. I think at that point in time, till that next to last drive for A&M that they scored and went up, I think A&M had somewhere around 50, 60 yards rushing.
Yep.
I think the running back was maybe around 45, 50. And then you let him have 60, 70 yards on that next to last drive. I mean, all of a sudden, out of nowhere, I mean, the drive before, you stopped them.
Yeah.
You shut down their run. You shut them down, and then offensive series for Arkansas, back on defense, and then it was just like night and day. Their offensive line woke up. We went to sleep. They just, I mean, gashed left and right and just had their way with us.
Yeah, and that look, you said it perfectly. Consistency. You're not getting consistency out of your run game calling. You're not getting consistency out of everything. You're not getting consistency out of your team. You piss it away against Oklahoma State. You come back, and beat Auburn, which we see Auburn, how they are. I mean, what's that going to equate to at the end of the season? We don't know yet. But you had the opportunity to go into this in the series in Dallas, in Jerry World on a high note. Win it. Dude, you've got game day coming to Fayetteville if you win this game. They're going to Berkeley. I mean, it's like you look at what this one game could do for your program. You come into this game day is in Fayetteville against Tennessee. We know what happened the last time Tennessee come to town on game day, but you have all this momentum. You play like your talent's there. You win that game on Saturday. You just gave up one bad drive, but that's all it takes, and that's consistency. Yes, Landon Jackson finally showed up and made some key plays, but when you needed the team, you needed to put your team on the back the most. Your defensive line, the offensive line needed to block. They needed to stop the run. Didn't do it. And in the very last play, you're not blocking good enough. Taylor Green holds onto the ball way too long. He can't sense the pressure. Fumble, ball game. I mean, inconsistency is across the board. And then you look at the stats and you're like, that means nothing when it comes to the outcome of the game. So you got to do some soul searching and quick, because the next couple of games on this schedule is not easy. You really needed to win this game because you need that cushion. And if that tells you anything, this has been the first time since 06 you just started 2-0 in the conference. What is that? And I know we talk about this and that, and this coach could do this and this coach can do that. But what does that tell you about the program as a whole? This would be the first time since 06 you've been able to start 2-0. And a lot of that has to do because of that Texas A&M game. You can't beat them. Or if it's coupled in with the LSU game, you can't beat
Alabama.
them.
Well, Alabama. I mean, years past, it was always like A&M and Alabama back to back. So you were starting because I went back and looked because whenever I heard them say that on the game yesterday, I immediately go to the 2010 season, and I'm looking at it and I'm like, oh, beat Georgia, lost to Alabama or whoever it was, and I was just like, no, we really haven't started 2-0 in conference in 18 seasons, and it's just crazy to see. But I think it wasn't going into the half. I believe it was second quarter at some point, or maybe going into the second quarter, they had the in-game interview with Pittman, and once again, kind of like the Oklahoma State, I think it was the Oklahoma State one of the games he was going in at half. There's a little bit of fire in him. There's a little bit of fire in his voice, but then you hear him post game, and it's just like a completely different aura about him.
And we have that clip. We'll play it and we'll discuss it.
I think we were 9-1 and 9 in that stretch, and for the most part, I think most of them were about like today, but and with the same result. That's what's really, really frustrating, because they found a way to win and we didn't, because I don't know that they're going to sit over there and be extremely happy with, I'm not talking for coach, with their offensive performance, you know what I mean? And maybe they are, but they found a way to win and we didn't. So that's happened a few times here, and it's just really disappointing for the kids.
It is disappointing for the fans. It's disappointing that we hear this monotone. Well, it's like Eeyore. Well, we lost this game. I mean, where's the fire? Where's the passion? And look, there's sometimes you just got to be mad. Even if it's your fault, Petrino's fault, the players, this and that, show some passion. But when you hear this week after week and year after year 5, and we're still hearing this, yeah, it's a tough loss, but it's like we need to see that, because all we're seeing is this monotone, this ho hum. Oh, we lost another game. It's like you don't realize what this game could have meant if you pulled out the victory going on to the season. You start off 2-0. You have a big game where you're going into a game where you might be a 7-point underdog and supposed to a 2-score, 3-score underdog going into the Tennessee game. There's just so much that the fans are tired, and it's weird how there's a lot of these fans that aren't happy with the coaching, but that's the only one that's directed. If you talk about being outmanned and pushed around or this and that, it's like, well, it's mental mistakes. It's on the coaching. It's like they want a change so bad that's all they're focused on. There's a lot of it out there, and there's nothing wrong with that, because there's a lot of fans that feel that way. And the way things are going, and if you look at the other teams in the conference that are having success, look at Kentucky. Kentucky's a good team, but they are able to win these big games. Vandy, of all teams, has able to win some games. South Carolina's been able to beat some teams. And it's like, why not Arkansas? Why can't Arkansas beat Oklahoma State? Why can't they beat Texas A&M? Why they got to lose 12 out of 13? Why can't they just, last year against Bama, pull that one out? I mean, they've been so close. And it's funny, that shirt that says, we almost almost win, or something like that, But it's like, the fans are like, why can't we? Why not us? Why can't we celebrate those wins? Because the biggest games that you could say you've won in the past, well, let's go back. I mean, Texas. I mean, the Texas game in 21 you won. I mean, I guess you could throw in the boot when the last time you won the boot against LSU, but it's like, since this tenure, you have these games where you should win the game. You can beat your Oklahoma State proved. I mean, I picked them, should not have picked them, because I knew they weren't better than Kansas State, but I just picked them to win. I don't know why, but
all y'all picked bad picks for college.
You look at that and you're like, that's the team that Arkansas could have beat. They were up 21-7 and couldn't put it away.
It's one of those that we're at this point in everybody's fandom. You've got one side that really, I mean, they'll just blame the coach, whether it be the one coach or the entire coaching staff, whatever. They're going to blame the coaches, but they're not going to say anything about the players.
Yeah.
But then you have the flip side that want to call out players or performances or a position group or whatever, and do it in a way that they're just talking about the game. They're talking about what they see on the field, which, like we've been saying, that's how you need to do it. Just talk about the issues. But then you have the other side that don't talk about them. Don't talk about those 18 to 23-year-olds. You can't do that. That's not right. It's one of these things that we keep getting these same results. So it's one or the other or both. So to the people telling us that, like, well, everything needs to be all fine and dandy and sunshine and rainbows and whatever, look at this game or these games week after week after week and tell me why we should be happy. Tell me why we should only be talking about the positives.
Yeah.
What is positive about all this? What is positive about going 3-26 in games that you were down at any point in the fourth quarter under Sam Pittman?
Yeah.
What's great about that?
Well, and we've said it many times. I mean, I think that there's difference between having constructive criticism on someone's play or someone's coaching, opposed to you bring up them in a personal sense. Like, I think that's off limits. On a coach, on a player, on anything. But if you're just looking at things that like, let's put Taylor Green out there. Don't hold on to the ball so much. Should be able to, feel the pressure, just little things like that. Broden in his catching woes. I mean, not being able to have a productive season so far, desperately needing a wide receiver too. To the coaching thing of it, why are you not giving your I mean, it's funny how you could play Road to Glory on NCAA 25 and be the top running back in the nation, and you can have 116 yards rushing through 3 quarters, and then they don't give you the ball the rest of the time. That's how I feel when I watch Arkansas, and then when I'm playing that video. It's the same thing, because you cannot touch the ball for the whole 4th quarter and you lose the game. It's happened to me 4 times when I've played the game. But you have this running back that has all these yards, and then the simulation, and it's like you don't touch the ball, but then you see it. It happens. Why are we not going? And it even happened. I know we had cramps and whatnot, but against the Oklahoma State game, but to not giving the ball, I don't know. That will always baffle me, because one, you have the talent and the ability to put together a drive. And if they're getting pressure off the edge, why are we still make them respect that you're going to run the ball? If they know you're going to pass, they're going to come with a blitz. They're going to come off the edge. They're going to make Taylor Green run because he's susceptible to fumbling. All them things because they adjust at halftime. And you look at those 3-26 with 4-quarter leads. I mean, how many times have they not adjusted and everything to change their scheme?
Well, the 3-26 is when we've been down. It's not been with leads. So just if we've been down a point, we've never been able to come back. But looking at Taylor Green too, I think we all thought that he was going to come in, and with Petrino, it was going to be this great turnaround or this great, success story. And this is not knocking Taylor Green at Boise State by any means, because they won the Mountain West or got into the Mountain West championship or whatever. But it's one of those things. He wanted to come to the SEC. He left. He comes here, and it's kind of the similar story, like stats wise, with him. The low completion percentage, interceptions, whatever the case may be. And I'm looking over at Boise State, and one of my buddies pointed this out yesterday. They're ranked.
Yeah, because they're
ranked right now.
Running back that they use, and they keep feeding him the ball. And he is Genty's a damn good back.
And their quarterback beat out their quarterback, who was opposite Taylor Green last year, his backup. He beat out a USC transfer, so they found their quarterback. And it's just one of those things. It's just like you have to kind of look at. And I'm not saying Taylor Green is the problem, because I truly don't think he is. I think this is a bigger issue. But you just got to look at it. So the team you came from is ranked and doing well, and here we are. I just think it's a whole mix of things that have compiled into one big ongoing issue. And it's, honestly, decisions that start at the top.
Yeah, and I bring up the whole, you look around the SEC and you look at, Ole Miss getting beat. Nobody gave Kentucky a chance to win that game at all. I didn't. I don't know if you did. None of game day did. And then you look at Georgia. Their close win that preempted this game against Alabama, which they came back, and then an another wide receiver out of Alabama comes up and steals the show, and they pull out the win. But you see these games that happen. Arkansas's had the chance where they can have this statement win. Just the confidence and proving that they can play with the big boys, which they can, but they can't win the games. You've got to be able to win these games, and that's what I've said. Again, 12 out of 13 you've lost in this series. Same way with Missouri. Now, there's a lot of times where you've been better than them. You just can't pull it out. But right now, you see how good they are and what they've done with their program. But you've seen other programs that have been below you build up. And I was like, man, this is the perfect year. You see so many teams down in the SEC this year. You have Georgia, Alabama, and then after that, I don't know where we go when it comes to, they've proven that they're a legitimate – because, look at Ole Miss. They were one of those teams, and you see how they played against Kentucky. Arkansas had a chance to at least be in that top 4 or 5 if they could have, because their talent is that good. They just aren't putting it on the field.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think one key thing for Ole Miss, and several analysts made this point yesterday across the board, that the first 4 games of the season did not set up Ole Miss for being prepared for, coming, or the SEC schedule. And so they're just pancaking all these teams, winning 50-0, 60-0, whatever it is. And then they come up and, who was it? The Kentucky game against South Carolina.
Yeah.
That was a fluke game for Kentucky in my eyes. They're a better team than a lot of people think. And I think Ole Miss just faltered and slipped up. I think they're going to bounce back. But, other teams I'm looking at, and this was even before yesterday, but, I've thought going into this coming weekend, Tennessee isn't as explosive as I thought that they were going to be. It's one of those, they've got a high ranking. They're a good team. They're just not as, like I said, explosive as I thought. So it's a team that could get tripped up at some point in time, just like we saw with Ole Miss. But I don't see it happening next Saturday.
No, and the thing is, you talk about, because I think, and look, I'm talking about pure style. I'm not talking about talent or who's better, who's on the better team. I'm talking about the style of quarterback and the type of player. You're getting the same quarterback. Nico is just the same type of player that Taylor Green is. He can throw the ball, but he relies on his feet. And you have them on a bye week, coming off their bye week, and they've looked susceptible. If Arkansas would have won this game against A&M, I would have probably went out on a limb and picked them to beat Tennessee. But, and that was because they squeaked out a win in Norman, 25-15, which we know, that was a lot of emotions going into that game. Every other game, 69-3, 51-10, 71-0. You're going to have a slip-up game. That's what worries me. Was that slip-up game against Oklahoma?
Time will tell. Unfortunately, time will tell. Going into if we move, I know we'll come back to Saturday's game after the break, but this is one that going into it, like I said, even before yesterday, I wouldn't have Arkansas winning, but I would have been in the boat of, if things aligned, night game in Fayetteville, your defense is on point, et cetera, et cetera. I'm just in this boat that I don't think the offense is going to be able to put you in any position to win big games.
Yeah. And we'll discuss more of that after the break. We're going to take a quick commercial break. After the break, we'll come back, talk Tennessee, talk other things. We'll even maybe discuss the on the field sideline issues that happen. Is there anything going on there? Was it just frustration? But, kind of touch on that. Big moment of the game per se, but when the weekend goes the way it did, you have to look at all things that point out of frustrations, who are they pointing fingers at, but we'll talk about it after the break. Searching for premium brewery products that will take your daily routine to the next level? Look no further than Sterling Soap Company. Our handmade soaps, aftershaves, and balms are made with only the finest ingredients that give you the ultimate grooming experience. With a variety of scents to choose from, there's something for everyone. Plus, our products are crafted in small batches to ensure the highest level of quality. So why wait? Visit www.sterlingsoap.com or visit our retail store at 16 West Walnut Street in Paris, Arkansas. Shop our collection and discover the difference for yourself. Upgrade your grooming routine with Sterling Soap Company. Are you looking for a place to grab a cold drink and some delicious food? Look no further than Arkansas Brewing Company. Located at 201 South 1st Street in beautiful downtown Ozark, our establishment offers a wide selection of craft beers and tasty eats. But what sets us apart is our welcoming atmosphere and friendly staff. At Arkansas Brewing Company, you'll always feel like part of the family. So visit Destiny and Christopher Brockett and staff today and see for yourself what makes us the go-to spot for locals and visitors alike.
Arkansas Brewing Company, come for the drinks and stay for the friends. Attention DIYers and home improvement enthusiasts. Are you searching for the right tools and the supplies to tackle your next project? Look no further than Mentor's Hardware Store. With locations in Ozark, Alma, and Clarksville, our vast selection of hardware and building materials is sure to have everything you need. Whether you're fixing a leaky faucet or building a new deck, plus our knowledgeable staff is always on hand to offer expert advice and guidance. And with our competitive prices and convenient online ordering, Mentor's Hardware Store is your one-stop shop for all your DIY needs. Visit us today and let's build something amazing together.
Are you looking to take your career to the next level? Look no further than ATU Ozark Campus. As a 2-year satellite campus of Arkansas Tech University, we're dedicated to a quality workforce education, industry partnerships for in-demand jobs, and tailored paths for success. Our programs are led by industry professionals. Whether it's a certificate or you're aiming for a graduate degree, ATU Ozark has you covered. Visit our website at www.atu.edu/Ozark or contact us at 479-667-2117. Your future begins here. Welcome to Ozark Area Chamber of Commerce, where our mission is simple: encourage, promote, and aid an enduring environment of shared economic opportunity and civic development for the Ozark, Arkansas area. Whether you're a local business owner or a resident, we've got something for you. Shop our unique local businesses, explore the beauty of Ozark, and savor local flavors and find cozy accommodations. Join us in building a stronger community. And to learn more, contact us at 479-667-2525. Remember, together we thrive. And welcome back to the Hog Talk podcast. And going into the Tennessee game, this is one of them where you've got to brush off this loss because, again, there's plenty of games left. You're sitting at 2-2. All isn't lost. So there's a little bit of sunshine there, per se, but you can't let Tennessee come in here and blow you out. And kind of alluded to the fact that when Tennessee played OU, they won 25-15 in Norman. That could be a telltale sign of, all right, is Tennessee able to get beat? Or are they overrated? Are they a sense of, if you get into the game, stay in the game, you have a potential to win this game? I don't know. That's to be seen because we don't know what Arkansas team's going to show up. But hopefully, this is prime time in Fayetteville, 6:30. All things are pointing in Arkansas's way here. We know how they can show up and, in 21 beat Texas. We know what the nighttime game is in Fayetteville. I expect it to be a full house. I still expect the fans to show up packed out and be ready for this game. But again, it all depends on what Tennessee team shows up and what Arkansas team shows up.
Well, it's one of those that I think the fans are going to show up. Arkansas's 3-2 going into this, and you still have a good chance to have a decent season. So I don't want to think all is lost after Oklahoma State and Texas A&M. It's just one of those that, it's the second game in Fayetteville this season, which is just stupid to think and say, but is what it is. But you've got, like you said, primetime 6:30 night game on ABC. Fans need to show up, show out, which I think they will. It's a big game. You've got, a high ranked opponent coming in. Yeah, there's some frustration, but you still want to be that team. And like I've talked about before, even if you don't have the highest hopes of your team's season, let them be the disruptor of somebody else's season.
Mm-hmm.
Let them throw somebody else off. It's one of those things that just come in and punch somebody in the mouth. And I know it's kind of weird to say this early on, and I'm not trying to give up on the season, but I'm just going back to, hey, we're at my win total prediction. So It's one of those, hey, just give me one more and prove me wrong. But I don't know. I wouldn't necessarily have picked Arkansas to win this coming weekend if we had beat A&M. But I would have had more of a back and forth in my head on that decision.
Yeah.
But just after what we saw, I don't have any doubts that our defense in some capacity will show up. It just all solely goes back to the offensive side of the ball. And that's where I'm at with it.
Yeah. And if you don't turn the ball over, if you have no
Mhm.
turnovers in this game, I mean, you're in the game. I mean, we Arkansas can play. They have the talent to play with Tennessee because look, you basically have the same type of team coming in that you just played last week. You got a guy in Dylan Sampson he's averaging 112 yards per game rushing. Nico, he's got 892 yards passing. He's completing 69.3% of his passes. Taylon Green, 54. I mean, that is a staggering stat when you're only completing 54. And this is all games. This is including the UAPB game. But you've got a team coming in that they can run the ball and they can throw the ball. And they have plenty of people that they can throw to. You have Brew McCoy, 200 yards receiving. Dante Thornton Jr., 242 yards receiving. Then you have Squirrel White has 121. And then Chris Brazel, he has 140 yards. So you have 4 guys that they lean on. That gives them the edge in the passing game because you've got to account for 3 to 4 guys on the wide receiver core of Tennessee that you got to defend. And we've seen this defense. Can they stop them in crucial times? But the biggest thing I wanted to say, it's been your motto all year. Prove me wrong. Prove us wrong. If you want the naysaying to stop, if you want people saying that all is lost, you want people to stop saying, here we go again. Next year's going to be better. Prove us wrong. Win this game. Surprise us and beat a team, like you said, throw them off course. Beat a team that you're not supposed to beat. Beat a team that you think that you're better than. Beat a team that you think you have the talent. Don't do a Oklahoma State game. Don't do a Texas A&M game. Win this game. Show us why we should believe that this team is any different than any other team in the last 15 years.
Yeah, because I'm sitting here, I'm just looking at the stats comparison, which I know that Tennessee, just coming off the bye week. I mean, you look at points per game, like you were talking about when you were reading off their scores. I mean, they've had 3 blowouts in 1 contested game. But, I'm looking at, total yards, 565 to 495 in favor of Tennessee. Passing yards, we're ahead of them, 283 to 275. But really, you look at rush yards, they average 290, we average 212. So can you stop their run game like you did for Texas A&M up until the next to last drive yesterday? Can your defense show up and do that for you? And that's going to be a big key in this, is on what type of game this is going to be. We've been kind of on green a lot this show, but I'm looking at the offensive line for Arkansas too. I mean, how many times yesterday were they just getting pushed back? It wasn't necessarily as a complete somebody rushing, which that happened often. There was just a lot of times they were just getting stood up and pushed back 4, 5, 6, 7 yards time and time and time again. You can't have that. You've got to give him space. Because even look here, I've got his touchdown to Tesla. Great. I mean, things went well on it, but I just want you to focus on the offensive line here on this play.
Pick up plays with his legs. In trouble, steps up, and now throws a deep ball, going for Tesla. Caught inside the 30. Tesla gonna take it in. Touchdown.
I mean, you're 6, 7, 8 yards back, and I just think things like that, you've got to do something.
Yeah, and that's going to be a big key. But also, you got to get back to the run game. Get back to what you know you're good at. Put together these 12, 13, 14 play drives, because if we know that Tennessee can come in and high-powered offense. They can strike through the air and run the ball. You've got to give it to your guy. Or even Taylor Green, run the ball. But until he proves that he is going to be an efficient passer and make some throws, because yes, he's had some great games, but he's also turned the ball over too many times. And that good versus bad, I mean, the bad outweighs the good when you're talking about equating his turnovers to what he's done on the field. When he's on, he's throwing the ball. He has his feet set. He's not throwing off his back shoulder. But there's a couple times where you also got to know that sometimes you got to be a pocket passer. On that last drive, if he would have done a 2-3 step drop and then hit his receiver, you could have picked apart that defense. They know you're going to scramble. They know you're going to run. So they know that the ball is not going to come out quick unless it's some RPO situation. But they were just sitting there right all over the wide receivers, playing them, and it was a physical game. But that and the penalties down the stretch, that face mask call, you can't do that at the end. You can't do those things where bringing a guy down by his face mask is going to add another 15 yards to that drive and momentum. I mean, it's almost a sign of, all right, we smell blood. We smell it, and we're going to take advantage of it. And the fact that they were able to finally put some runs together and run right down Arkansas's throat. I mean, you can almost wave the white flag.
But I'm just sitting here looking because, I mean, I know Taylor's, like you said, 54% completion percentage, 5 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. I was just trying to see what his fumbles were because yesterday I think it was 2 or 3 fumbles with 1 loss by him. And so what are we looking at there? Another 5 or 6 fumbles?
Yeah.
And I know you get into that when you have running quarterbacks. I totally, key point is Lamar Jackson. He fumbles while he runs more often than I would like, but I don't know. You've got to sense that pressure when you're taking off running.
He's fumbled the ball 5 times this year.
Okay.
And three against A&M. 1 lost, but he fumbled against OSU, fumbled against UAB, no fumbles against Auburn, and no fumbles against UAPB.
So 5 touchdowns, 5 fumbles, 5 interceptions. Cool.
Yep.
At least he's consistent.
Yeah. I mean, and I guess in a sense you could say he's only lost 1 of them. So, I mean,
True.
He's only turned the ball over. But when you look at the turnovers to touchdowns, you got 5 touchdown passes and 6 turnovers. You've got to do a better job of holding onto the ball.
Let's be fair here. He's got 4 rushing touchdowns. So we'll combine them. So 9 and 6.
9 and 6. So you got 9 touchdowns accounted for and 6 turnovers.
But we've talked about numerous times the dumb mistakes, and if you make them earlier in the game, rebound. You can't make them that late in the game.
Exactly.
I mean, you could bounce back from it in the first, second quarter, hell, even the third quarter. But you're doing that in the last few drives. You just call it good. And I get it. You're frustrated, you're mad, whatever, but you can't let the trash talking back and forth, the jawing back and forth get to you to a point to where, and that wasn't just like oops, grabbed his face mask. That was he was holding on and not letting go.
Exactly. And, on the whole, he's a gambler, Green.
Mm-hmm.
You look at the touchdown pass, it worked out. He fought through the pocket, used his legs, found a wide open guy, and that scored a touchdown. But on the last drive of the game, you're trying to make a play happen. And if you got to have the ball not hanging off your side. You have it in front of you, waiting on the receiver to get open and then fire the ball. But it's like he just has it tucked, off to the side. And you look at the strip. It was a beautiful defensive play by the A&M guy to strip that ball. But it's weird how basketball, if somebody's coming up behind you, you'll wolf. I mean, it's just that word, that terminology. You just warn, hey, wolf, somebody's coming up behind you. I don't know if there's that kind of heads up on the. I mean, I don't even know if you can hear to say
That's
it.
what I would be. Is it? Could you even hear it? The commotion of everything versus football field to basketball court. I don't know though.
Yeah, we just know that with this game coming up, you've got to show some fight. You can't let, once again, this be that turning point in your season. You can't let this go down because let's, look at, me pull up the season schedule. You've got Tennessee coming up, and then after Tennessee, you got LSU. Then you got Mississippi State. Then you got Ole Miss, Texas, La Tech, Missouri. I mean, look, I know you've got a couple of games in there, and I'm just going to look at 2 now. Because again, I'm judging this team off of a 7-5 season and what I predicted. But if you're playing the way you're playing off of this game, I see 2 more wins. Because I don't see you beating LSU. I don't see you beating Ole Miss, Texas, or Missouri. I mean, and that's at Missouri. And so you think about it, the Missouri game and the Texas A&M game is the same game. You've not been able to win that game. It's a considered rivalry, and I've said it many a times on how I feel about how Missouri feels about Arkansas. But you've got to turn things around. Even if you lose this game, lose it by just, hey, they were the better team on the field. Both games they've lost this year, Arkansas, from a talent standpoint, was a better team on the field. They just wasn't picking up the block. They weren't doing things in the right moments to win the game.
Yeah, and looking at the rest of the season, upcoming games. I mean, like you said, you got Louisiana Tech, you've got Mississippi State. I don't think anybody should have a false hope of Ole Miss by what we saw yesterday. I don't think.
Yeah.
I think that was just a slip up by Ole Miss. I think that some people may get a false hope, like, oh, we can beat anybody if you want to go with that route. But no, that game is still going to, in my opinion, get out of hand quick. It usually does, for whatever reason with Lane Kiffin. But just looking at it, though, I mean, I think that it's still early to tell to me what Missouri is, just because they haven't played anybody. Then they almost lost to Vandy. I don't know who that team is. So I didn't even see who jumped to number 1. Was it Bama?
Yeah, Bama should. I mean, the
rankings came out.
Okay.
I just saw that Texas had moved to 2, so I assumed Bama jumped to 1. But hell, even yesterday, I mean, we all knew that we'd see it coming eventually. But Arch Manning got in for Texas and did his thing. Just played for years, I guess, is out with injury. I didn't know. I don't pay that much attention. But that's that game right there. Texas is built for a national championship. And I know we all were waiting for the fall of Alabama post Nick Saban, and it's not going to be this season.
Yeah, no, and it might not be next. I don't know. You just think that you still got Nick around. You know what I'm saying? He's going to be there forever. No, he might not be the head coach, but he's heavily influenced. And that Bama's still Bama. I mean, you go back to the Bear, you go back to Gene Stallings, you go to Nick Saban. I mean, Bama's always going to be Bama. Everybody's wanting Bama to fall off so bad. It's not going to happen.
Who was the coach that not Mike Shula, but I feel like there was another one.
Oh, goodness. Yes.
Davis? No.
I can't even think of goodness gracious, not Shula. I can't even think of the guy's name, but I know exactly who you're thinking about. And when you say his name or look his name up, it's going to ring a bell. But they had two coaches right there that God, white hair. I see his face. I just can't put a name with his face. But I want to see where Arkansas has a fluke game and they bounce back, or if they lose a game where it's a close game, they need to get back to where they're putting 7-8 win seasons on the board every single year. You know,
Mike Price was one season, but Dennis Franchione was before that.
Franchione, yeah.
So.
But I don't know. It's frustrating because you want to put the faith in this team. I had faith that they were going to beat Texas A&M and then come in and compete with Tennessee and possibly upset them. I mean, that's just where you hear things of how this team is going to be different. Pittman's got his guys, you know, this is his team, you got T-Will, you got all these things going on. You have Bobby Petrino back, and all the hype coming into Bobby Petrino coming in to be like a similar situation as Cal, be a savior of this program, get us back to where it was the last time, and all's forgotten. Winning cures all. But you got to win. You've got to win, or you're going to still keep getting these fans pissed off every other week. You're going to still have these fans wanting your job. Because if the product's not changing, then you need to change things to make the product change. That's just the way it is. And I'm sorry. I know the SEC's tough. I know that, Arkansas has done this ever since they've been in the SEC. But why does Arkansas have to settle for that? Why do the fans have to settle for that? Why do they keep getting ridiculed and talked about like, this is just how it is? It shouldn't be that way. Hell, Vandy can get wins. Look what Kentucky's done. South Carolina, I mean, yeah, they had their 11-win season back in the day in the early 2010s. But what have they consistently done on year-in, year-out basis in the SEC? I mean, Florida's taken a dip. Why can't Arkansas turn things around and be one of them programs where every 3-4 years they're contending for the second or third spot in the SEC West? The way it used to be. It happened with the Tyler Wilson days, Bobby Petrino, Darren McFadden. It's happened. But it hasn't happened in a long time. And that's what the fans want. You keep wanting us to donate. You keep wanting us to believe in your team. Well, we got to do this to get better players. We need this more money to do this. And it's like, but the fans keep coming back with, we'll put out a better product. Because you can't tell me with the talent they have now, they should be undefeated right now.
Well, we keep hearing time and time again, like, it's going to be a new team with the way Portal is. Yeah. It's always going to be a new team. But your same constant has been your coach.
Yeah.
So we keep changing the team and it's not working. You've got to figure out
coordinators. Changing coordinators too. I mean, it looks like Barry Odom was doing pretty damn well on his own. But you have to look at that. Everybody wanted to run him out of town because his defense was so horrible and they wanted to run him off. I don't care if it's at UNLV. Look what he's doing at UNLV. You know, I mean, you have to hold weight to that. He's putting together and he's building a culture. And he's doing it with Arkansas guys. You're doing it with Jalen Catalon and you're doing it with Jackson Woodward. You know, 2 Arkansas guys are out there balling out on defense. And I guarantee you one of them is going to be potentially an All-American. So why can't it happen? Why can't it happen? Why won't it happen? And what's going to happen to finally get this stuff to change? And I'm telling you, I guarantee you, everybody wants a lot of money to come in this program, the football program, but who's going to invest millions of dollars in this football program and NIL if there's no certainty on what this program is going to be in the next 2 years? I guarantee if this was a winning program, you would have no problem getting money. Just like you bring Cal in. You bring in Cal in, you automatically bring 5 stars in. You automatically bring in a winning culture. Automatically changes. There's got to be faith. There's got to be an ROI. Why am I investing this money? Why are we putting this money into this program if we're not for certain on what we're going to have? Because we have a decent team right now. We have decent talent. We can't even beat Oklahoma State, and we lost another one in Jerry World. It's mind-blowing that we keep going down the same road every single year and that the fans have to deal with this every single year. But the only one that's asked to do more of is the fans.
Well, and let's, like we've talked about off here, Arkansas's not going to go get a Coach Calipari of football. It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
They're not going to go pay $8, $9, $10, $11 million for a coach.
Yeah.
So you essentially are hoping for somebody to come in, and this may sting a little, but it's one of those things that bring Arkansas back to 6 to 8 wins minimum, average, consistent per year.
Mm-hmm.
You get out your occasional 9 wins. Guess what? A lot of things would probably be a bit different. We've fallen so far back that we're sitting here wanting for somebody to bring us to 10, 11 game win. That hasn't happened. We haven't had that consistently. So as much as people back in the day before social media calling for a change, calling for somebody other than Houston Nutt, at least we were consistent.
Mm-hmm.
And here we are now wishing that we had somebody back like that. It's just one of those things that, and I think that this term is going to be taken out of context in a sense, or sting a little bit or whatever. Bring it back to mediocrity, because we're not there. We haven't been there for several years. We have fallen that far back.
Yeah, when you're ranked 11th, 12th, 13th. And I even issued an apology out to SEC Mike, because after last week, I was going off the wrong week anyway. They had us ranked 12th, and I'm like, dude, we're better Kentucky. We're better than A&M. We're better than OU, because I was basing that off of what I had seen. And again, I was proven wrong, and I was like, dude, that's on me. I shouldn't have put that faith in this team to do that. But that's how 80% of the fan base, there's going to be that 20% that's ride or die, maybe 30% that's ride or die, no matter what. They love the Hogs. They're not going to lose any games, but you have a majority of the fan base that, I'm telling you right now, you win that game against Oklahoma State. You win that game yesterday. You're heading into this game 4-0. What do you think? What do you think Fayetteville would be like? It would be just like 21 Texas. You would have an environment, and then Edge comes out with say, hey, we're going to put out a special sign up $15, $20 a month. You'd have people donating hand over fist because they have something to believe in. You win those 2 games, even if you win this game and you're heading into the freaking Tennessee game 3-1, you've given the fans something to believe in. But week in, week out, we don't know what team we're going to get in. It's hard to believe that this program is going to turn around when it's the same results. Same results.
Yeah. The smart thing for Edge to do was put out that $10 per month. But you're going into this game 3-2 versus potentially 4-1.
Yeah.
Or 5-0. A lot of people don't want to do it because of that reason. And I'm sorry, the argument by folks anymore, before it was, you're not a true fan, and now it's, well, do you donate? I'm sorry, when both of those phrases come out, your argument is done. You have nothing. You have nothing to contribute to a conversation. If that's all you have to rely on for a comeback, rebuttal, whatever. But fans would be willing more if you were going into this game 4-1 or 5-0.
Yeah. And, we hope Arkansas turn around. And like we've said, it's weird. I think sometimes we could sit there and just patch our segments together and make them join up, and it be the same thing for the last 2 years, because we've insert said team here win, insert said team loss, and it's the same deal because we're getting the same team. But, enough on the high horse soapbox. Everybody's just frustrated. Everybody wants a winning program. Anybody wants a winning product. They want a reason to be able to go to Fayetteville and know that they can come out with a win. They want it to get back to the days where people are afraid to come into Fayetteville and play the Razorbacks because it's that daunting place. It's the old Razorback Stadium where you don't know, no matter what your ranking is, if you're going to win the game. That's what we want.
Mm-hmm.
And that's
how
we'll
much to ask for.
Yeah. And that's how we'll win the show. Unless you got something else. I know you got another hour to get to go rant and talk, but
another show and Ravens Bills on Sunday Night Football.
Well, that will do it for, go ahead. That will do it for this episode of the Hog Talk podcast. Again, we'll come back to you live Wednesday at 6:30. Don't forget to tune in to Hog HQ Live right after this, coming up at 8 o'clock. Give Adam some time to reset and then reload and be ready for Matt Hart, Dollar DP, all the guys. Be a good show. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.